welcome to Kirkistown in Northern Ireland, a fast track covering 1.5 miles of tarmac, and it's time for the HRCA Historic Sports Cars Championship, a real dose of nostalgia. We've got Sunbeam Tigers, MGB V8s, Yellow Chiropas, Ford Capris, MG Midgets, the list goes on. But it's Jackie Cochran in his Sunbeam Tiger 4.7 litre V8. It's a beast. He's on second place on the grid. He's actually leading the championship, so let's see how he can progress. Here's Andy McEwen with race 1.
Thanks, Anthony. The eclectic grid of historic cars lining up ahead of our first of two races here at Kirkistown, with Jackie Cochrane and John Benson making up row 1. Bernard Foley and Steve Morris are on the second row ahead of John McCandless and Tommy Docherty on row 3. Seamus Hobbs and Wolfgang Schnittger are on the fourth row of the grid ahead of Kieran Smith and Ken McAvoy. Liam Ruth, Edmund Cassidy and Noel Kavanagh round out the 13 starters. We've lost a few after qualifying, a few mechanical gremlins. Hopefully those cars may well be out for race number 2 later on. So for the first time this weekend at Kirkistown for the Historics, we are about ready to go racing. The red lights go out, away we go, on board with the number 49 MG of Connor Cook. Well, that's one of the cars we thought we'd lost after qualifying. It's good to see Connor out there. Didn't set a lap time at qualifying, but is out there on the back of the grid for the race, and already being overtaken by another one of the MGBs. And I think that, I think that's another one of the cars that we had that struggled in qualifying, but good to have them back out there. So a slightly bigger grid than anticipated for the start of the race, as they work their way down in towards the right-hander here at Colonial. Tricky double apex right-hander, then up into Fisherman's, and there's a car slowing down there, unfortunately, immediately. One car that is not going to make it round to the end of the opening lap by the looks of it. That, I think, was the midget of Wolfgang Schnittger. That's a shame. There's the very pretty number 47 Lotus, working its way through the Crossley chicane. On down the back straight, that's Clyde Brandon in the Lotus 47. But at the head of the field, we've got a side-by-side battle here by the looks of it, and very, very close indeed. That's 54 Steve Morris that appears to have got the race lead from fourth on the grid in the Crossley. Unsurprisingly, there are a couple of three Crossleys in total actually out in the field this race, but the change for the lead now does happen, and through goes Bernard Foley in the MGB GT V8, 4.6 litre V8 at the, underneath the hood of the silver MG, and it works its way through now into the lead. In fact, it's all changed at the front of the field, and a slightly scrappy first lap also. Jackie Cochrane is into second place now, and down into third for Steve Morris. But yeah, rather a jumbled first half a lap or so. Everyone now starting to work their way back to where they ought to be. There is the 4.7 litre Tiger, the Sunbeam Tiger of Jackie Cochrane, that lapped half a second quicker than John Benson's Crossley in qualifying. John Benson hasn't even seen actually this race, so he's dropped outside the top 3 immediately. But it looks as though Jackie Cochrane has seen the race leader and is closing in, and I think we could be about to have another lead change here, maybe into the hairpin, because Bernard Foley is definitely coming under pressure now. The change doesn't happen just yet. It's side by side for third place nearly, as Steve Morris was under a lot of pressure there heading into the final hairpin. Just about stays in front, so he is still the lead Crossley in the race. We're on board with the number 87 car, and this is Ken McAvoy in the nearest silhouette, and he started deep in the field but has made good progress. We've had the lead change now though, so Jackie Cochrane is in front, and Jackie will now try to use the speed that car showed in qualifying to pull clear. It ought to be able to, really, given the relative dominance in the qualifying session earlier on today. It was half a second quicker than John Benson, but Jackie was a full 2.4 seconds quicker than Bernard Foley, who has now dropped down into second place. As they make their way through the chicane though, he's trying to stay with the race leader as they work their way back onto the back straight, but the 4.7 litre Sunbeam Tiger even quicker in a straight line than the 4.6 litre V8 engined MGB. And so although the gap didn't increase massively, but where the Tiger has the advantage is it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit more nimble through the corners, so they're pretty equal in straight line performance. But then they get to a corner and the bigger, heavier MGB just struggles a little bit for pace. Back on board with the 49 MGB, the rather more modest 1.8 litre version of Connor Cook, as he chases down, I think that's Noel Kavanagh in front. No, I think that's Ethan Cook actually in front in his MG. And the gap closing in now, actually. These two started from the back of the grid. They're having their own private battle, not to be last, I think, at the moment. Neither of them hammering the curve through the Crossley chicane, as you could understand. Very valuable pieces of kit, this. There's the Capri, that's Tommy Docherty, the 3 litre Ford Capri, and he's got that lovely Lotus 47 of Clive Brandon that also didn't set a time in qualifying, so that car's coming through from the back of the grid. There it is in the iconic gold leaf livery, the white and red, on the tail now of the Capri, and gets a better exit out of Fisherman's, but it's very difficult to overtake down in towards the Crossley chicane. Now, ordinarily you'd imagine that the Lotus would be quicker through this part of the circuit because it is by far away the better handling car, and then you get out onto a straight and the Capri really opens the taps and pulls away again. So it's going to be difficult. It's always difficult to overtake a car that's quicker than you in a straight line. It doesn't matter how much corner speed you can carry, chances are that the car you're trying to overtake will always be in the way. But as soon as you get onto a straight, they just disappear off the road. You can see there that the gap has gone up again down the back straight with the number 16 car of Tommy Docherty. Qualified in 6th place, running in much the same position at the moment, under increasing pressure from Clive Brandon as they rush back down towards the first corner, back out of it and down towards the Colonial section, on the more technically demanding parts of the circuit. This is where the Lotus should come into its own, but they actually seem remarkably evenly matched through here, and Tommy is pedalling the Capri well. This, of course, a slightly modified Capri. This is there's virtually nothing stock on the Capri, and it's been lovingly looked after by Tommy, and it's going very well indeed. Now, unfortunately, this car is not going so well. This is Connor Cook, and it would appear that a mechanical drama, one would have to assume a return of the mechanical drama that kept him out of qualifying, has pulled him off the track. And the annoying thing is that he had overtaken Ethan Cook, so you saw Ethan flashing back through again then as he was being lapped by some of the front runners. So he gained that position, and then almost immediately the car grinds to a halt. That's a shame. There is the Lotus of Clive Brandon, still stuck behind the Capri of Tommy Docherty. They head back across the start-finish line, down towards Debtors Dip, that dauntingly quick first corner. So we rejoin the battle towards the front of the field, and under an awful lot of pressure now is the MGB of Bernard Foley. So you can see that the leader, Jackie Cochrane, has disappeared up the road. This is now the fight for second position. It's the 87 car we're on board with now that is applying the pressure, heading down the back straight. Ken McAvoy in this silhouette car. There is the leader, Jackie Cochrane, with the back marker just behind, and then here the fight for second. The MG definitely the quicker in a straight line, but then through the corners, as we see with multi-class racing, and particularly historic racing, the different cars have different strengths and weaknesses. Some are quick in a straight line, some are quick through the corners, and it's over the course of a lap that it can make things very interesting indeed. You can see the MG just disappearing up the road as we head into turn number 1, but then we start to build the speed through the corners, and you'll see that the gap will shoot down again through Colonial, especially with the back marker getting into play now. This is definitely going to hold up Bernard Foley and potentially give the chasing car a chance to overtake. Down towards Fisherman's they go. They've negotiated the back marker now, but that definitely did some damage to the advantage that Bernard Foley had been enjoying through the first half of the lap. Out of the corner they go up the inside line. This is the gap into the chicane. Well, there might have been, but the MG pulls clear again on the short blast into the right left. And I beg your pardon, it's actually 57, that isn't it? That is actually John McCandless in the 2 litre Crossley that is in third position. My apologies. Similar numbers, 57, 87, easy mistake to make. Anyway, 57 it is that's running in third place, trying to get that second place away. Up in front of us, the number 6 Sunbeam Tiger of Edmund Cassidy, making a bit of a mistake. That's the 4.5 litre Sunbeam Tiger, very similar to the car that's leading the race, Jackie Cochrane. As we run back along the start-finish line, and timing up the inside goes the second place car, and getting in between them we go. So this is one of the difficulties in multi-class racing as well, that you capture the back of the field pretty quickly. And as you can see, we've got cars that are lapping each other that are also in the process of being lapped, so it all creates one big traffic jam. If you catch them at the wrong point, it can really cause havoc, but they're dealing with the traffic really well at the moment. On the inside of the number 6 car, Edmund Cassidy goes Bernard Foley. Bernard being chased down by John McCandless behind him. Drive past the stricken car of Connor Cook, pulled off earlier on. Race back along the back straight again. There's an interesting car. This is heading out of the final corner. That's the 211 machine of Seamus Hobbs. That is, believe it or not, an MG GT, even easy for me to say, with a 1.4 litre engine. But as you can see, it's not quite showroom spec. Very, very quick piece of kit though. in the right hands, and certainly Seamus pedalling it well here, having some nice battles a bit further down the order. And turn 1 though comes this second place battle. You can see that this part of the circuit, at the end of the high speed section, that's where the gap is at its biggest, and then it starts to shrink through the next sequence of corners. That was a bit of a mistake there though from John McCandless, so he's not going to be eating into the margin quite as rapidly as he'd like to. Through Fisherman's now. See more corner speed. If he can just time it right and get the run out of Fisherman's and into the chicane, he might be able to do it. I don't think it's any good trying to do it out of the chicane. Oh, he thinks about going up the inside into the chicane. I was about to say, as much as he can carry better speed through the chicane than Bernard Foley can, it matters little, because then you head on to the first of these two really long straights. He's got to try and do it before we get onto the straight, ideally up through Colonial, but that's really single file all the way through there. To the brakes they go. To the hairpin, and very tight line. Take a look at how much later on the brakes John McCandless is able to go, but in fact I think that was a bit too late on the brakes. He got the car stopped, but certainly not on the ideal racing line, and so once again the gap starts to stretch between the two of them. Right on board with McCandless here as we head through Debtor's Dip, and hopefully we'll stay with him as they go into Colonial. We'll see this gap go down. He's coming from a long way back here. That's how much better on the brakes he is, and in fact in the end Bernard Foley had little choice but to move over and let him go, because McCandless I think was coming through regardless of whether the MG was in the way there. Good move by John McCandless. Now that was perfect, because now he's got the whole run through Colonial and through Fisherman's and through the chicane to try and build a gap over the MG behind. And there is traffic in front as well, which possibly could play into his hands, as long as it doesn't hold up his mid-corner speed, which it doesn't. So the gap between second and third now really starting to extend out. Closing in now on Seamus Hobbs again to put another lap on him. Rush down towards the end of another lap, and around the outside goes the new second place man. Great driving that from John McCandless, only qualified 5th and some 4.6 seconds off the pace of pole position. In turn, about 4.2 seconds slower than second place. We're running in second place now. And we haven't seen much of John Benson, who started second on the grid. He dropped back in the early stages, and that's allowed John McCandless to come through and steal this second place. And he's already, look at the gap that he's pulled now over Bernard Foley. I wonder whether maybe Bernard's running into some sort of an issue here, because he's now under an awful lot of pressure. Look at this, he's going to lose third place as well, and that MG does not look particularly happy to me. Oh, that's also a not very happy MG, spearing off into the back at high speed. That is a big shunt indeed for Ethan Cook in the MG midget, and it's good to see that he's moving around inside the car, but that will have certainly caught his attention. What on earth happened there? Did he lose it under braking, or did something break on the car? It was in the braking zone for the hairpin, and red flag flies straight away, unsurprisingly, the race being stopped. That was a very, very nasty shunt indeed for Ethan, who started from the back having not qualified, and, well, that was a bizarre end to the race, but Jackie Cochrane takes the victory nonetheless from John McCandless in second. Bernard Foley gets third, because the results go back a lap to before Steve Morris found a way past him. Steve is therefore fourth, with Clive Brandon rounding out the top 5, and, well, a dramatic end to what was an entertaining first race of the weekend for the Historics, and they'll do it all again in race 2.